In this video, we are going to go to Uganda, East African country, and talk about some human rights violations that have been going on in the last 36 years. They have a president that goes by the name Yoweri Museveni. Yoweri Museveni snatched power in 1986, so that's 37 years ago, and he has been there till this day. Right now, he's about 80 or 80, early 80s or mid 80s. His first son goes by the name Muhuzi Kaibuera, something like that. He's supposed to be a general. He is actually a general. They refer to him as a general, but in real life, he's not a general because he became a general not as a result of merit, but he became a general as a result of nepotism. And it's normal. It's commonplace in many societies with extremely corrupt leadership. I'm talking about people that kill without being held accountable for decades. People that rob, loot, murder, they commit the worst crimes imaginable and they can't be held accountable. And at the same time, they become billionaires off the system that they forced themselves to get into the position of power. So we're going to go to Uganda real quick and talk about two individuals that were severely brutalized by Yoweri Museveni's soldiers. What the soldiers usually do is they kidnap citizens that they perceive as the opposition members of the administration. And trust me, majority of the citizens are opposition of the administration. And it's common sense. If you're living in a country where you're constantly broke, you have no money, the economy is trash as a result of mismanagement, you have no basic amenities, no good hospitals, no good roads, no sanitation, nothing, no drainage system. You are forced to defecate outside in the bushes throughout your entire life. You're living in a country where security has become treasure. There's so much crime everywhere. People have chosen a life of crime because that's the only way they know how to survive. The police and the soldiers that are supposed to protect you and the country, they are also mostly criminals that will kill and attack you for speaking up against bad governance. We have this one individual, starting off with Bobby Wine. I'm sure you guys might have not heard about Bobby Wine. He's the main opposition in Uganda. He contested for presidency in 2021, but he was robbed in broad daylight. And they were collaborators. I believe the EU, European Union, sent some election observers to Uganda during the elections in 2021. And they wanted to, observe what was going on in the elections. And they came out with a report saying that the elections were mostly free and fair. I'm not only going to blame the EU for collaborating with a rigged election, but the AU, the African Union, also sent some observers. Also, the East African bloc, which is made up of 6 countries: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, I believe South Sudan might be the last country. They sent observers as well to go see what was going on in the elections. And they all claimed that there was no robbery going on. Anyways, Bobby Wine recently showcased an individual that is an affiliate of his political party, the NUP. This individual was brutalized heavily simply because he is against the government. First and foremost, he had been missing for a couple of weeks, and then he was eventually found. And then he had he had a lot of marks. As you can see, the scar on his chest here, the scars are from hot irons. Okay. I'm going to show you more. I really hope YouTube doesn't block these videos because these contents are graphic to an extent. But it's all about education. We're trying to showcase the suffering that African people are going through under the hands of the new colonizers, the new slave masters. The new slave masters, unfortunately, are our fellow Africans. Okay. The politicians, they are oppressors. They collaborate with imperialists from America, from Europe, from China to ensure that we remain enslaved as a people while they, the leaders, the politicians, they become billionaires. They are enriched. I mean, these imperialists, they come through to grab natural resources from everywhere and human resources. Our politicians is supposed to be their jobs to protect our countries, our societies, and the people. But instead, they exchange the people for cheap prices. The cheap prices includes they becoming billionaires, they having access to weapons. Those weapons are what they use to keep us away from protesting. And that's why whenever we go out there to protest, there are always machine guns that were manufactured in Europe and America ready to kill us for protesting against bad governance. So that's what the legacy of our politicians are, especially in Uganda. Yoweri Museveni. Museveni is like, listen, the guy is such a hypocrite. Apart from the fact that he has been there for almost 40 years, ruining the country of Uganda and millions of lives. He's supposed to be in jail for the rest of his life. But unfortunately, it's very difficult. And that's one of the reasons why he's trying to position Muhuzi, his son, to get into the position of power so that he can continue having immunity. Now, if you look at this photo, this Twitter post from Museveni was recent, 2 hours ago. That's when he posted his tweet. He goes to the grave site of a bishop. Look at the caption. In remembrance of late Archbishop Janani Luwum, who was unnecessarily murdered, I was in Kitgum district to celebrate his life. It was unfortunate that he and other Ugandans were murdered for no good reason under the influence of ideological confusion. And then I went to check out who that individual was. It's this man. He was killed during the administration of Idi Amin. Idi Amin was one of the most notorious African leaders of all time. He was the president of Uganda. He was just a brutal guy, Idi Amin. But I'll tell you what, Museveni has actually topped Idi Amin's brutality because the rate at which people are getting kidnapped in drones, they call them drones. These are specialized vehicles that the police and the military use to kidnap citizens, torture them, and kill many of them without their family members ever knowing where they are. It got so bad that while Yoweri Museveni, their president, is celebrating the life and death of that bishop, you have Ugandans today going through the same torture and even worse than Idi Amin put on the people. Here is what General Museveni's thugs did to our comrade. This is from Bobby Wine. Muesigwa Eric. Eric Muesigwa is this individual. They abducted him and tortured him, asking what Bobby Wine and NUP are planning to do to overthrow the government. What a group of cold-hearted criminals. And these are the photos. Man has burnt iron marks on his chest, in excruciating pains. He has blade marks all over his arms, his torso. Gone through hell. And just so you know, many other Ugandans, they've been in the same position and they were killed and their bodies were dumped, so their family members never knew where they were. Many people are going through that right now as we speak. Thankfully, thank God, this man, Eric Misigwe, was able to come back alive. and he's able to share the story with the rest of the world. Now, I'm going to share with you guys another quick video of one other man that went through the torture, the pain and torture of being a Ugandan citizen as a result of Yoweri Museveni being their president. The man had to undergo the amputation of his fingers. They cracked his skull open. They cracked his jaw. He survived. Luckily, he was electrocuted. He went through all types of torture.
Ojjattu obulira buli kimu nengagamba nedda bannange jasi lwakwata omuntu muyimbi nimumanyi kumanyi nga muyimbi simumanyi kuba pulezidenti jasi namwagala bagazi basonga mumanyi nga muyimbi tebangamba ojja kwogera kati zina engalo banzigyamu enjala kandi bamaze okukamenyako banzigyamu olwalo lwasooka nenkaba ne bagamba ne mumusitabulereze sina kimanyi nze Vanessa Manise ya kueleze nini afu nini ebanga tena plan jomai kujabudinga sina plan jomai ebanga amba oneka video twakola ne kyagulanye ki nembaga just ya state kunyiga just na nyumira mu njene de sama bijja bela webiti ebanga kitegezo omanyi era muntu bankwata sura banja muzinengalo yabatuka sira ne bangamba okirabika kati agenda kufata kyasobola wona wenasimba omanya ogongo balina ebintu ebanjo kyane guno omukono bakubya amasannyalaze oba muddugavu agenda omanya omugongo nandiye.
That's the price you pay for being a citizen of Uganda and wanting a better country. That's the price you pay. So it's important we showcase these stories to the rest of the world to understand that slavery and colonization perpetrated by everybody, Arabs, Europeans, it never really ended. Eventually, they passed the baton of slavery and colonization to African politicians to continue the slavery and colonization. And that's why terrorists, criminal terrorists like Yoweri Museveni, they absolutely have to be stopped at some point. If we are not able to stop Yoweri Museveni, make sure that his son, Muhoozi, I have to look for a photo of Muhoozi for you to see what exactly that is. A criminal terrorist does not get to that position of authority. And most importantly, we have to make sure that we find a way to get these guys to pay for their crimes. They absolutely have to. And that's your boy, Muhoozi. So thank you for watching the African Wahala this morning. That's what we talk about on this platform, African issues. We're sick and tired of being at the bottom of the food chain globally. We're actually, for some of us Africans, it's gotten to this level. We can't take it. Okay. So the least we can do is to tell our stories to the rest of the world so people understand what exactly is going on. And also, this has a potential to, should I say, rile up more people and have them upset and have them not willing to settle for this life of persistent subjugation, enslavement, and poverty. More people are going to be angry, and eventually it's going to cascade into something that would get rid of these criminal politicians that have been in power for so long. Thank you for joining me on the African Wahala. Click on the like button if you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube. Click on the like button, subscribe, drop a comment. Let's have a conversation.